It's raining here. The kind of rain that clings to the silence of the night like a ghost. Tonight, when I'm going to tell you a story, one that began like any other shift, but it didn't end like one. So lie back, put on your headphones, and listen carefully, because this story might just follow you into your dreams. I've worked as a security guard for most of my life. It's not the most glamorous job, but it pays the bills. Gas stations, convenience stores, small shops. Places where you're mostly just sitting around, watching cameras, sipping coffee, waiting for nothing to happen. But when I saw the ad for a night shift at the old Crestview Mall, I thought I'd finally stumbled onto something better. The pay was good, better than anything I'd seen in years, and the hours? 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. easy, just one building. No customers, no late-night drunkards, no mess. Just silence. Or so I thought. The mall had been shut down for a few years. Management said they were preparing to renovate it, rebrand it, bring it back to life. In the meantime, they needed someone to watch over the place. No cameras, just walking the floors once an hour, checking the main doors, making sure no kids or squatters had broken in. I figured it would be quiet, peaceful even. Just me, my flashlight, and the echo of my own footsteps. But the first time I stepped into that mall, something felt off. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was watching me. The mall doors creaked open like they hadn't moved in years, groaning under the weight of their own rust. I stepped inside, and the air hit me all at once. Thick, cold, and heavy, like breathing through a wet rag. My boots echoed on the tiled floor, each step louder than it should have been, swallowed quickly by the darkness ahead. The lights didn't work, not all of them anyway. Just a few overhead fluorescents flickering here and there, casting dim patches of pale light that made shadows look alive. I'd been told to bring a flashlight. Good advice. Mine was strong, with a long beam that cut through the dark like a knife. I checked in at the small office near the back entrance. It had an old desk, a broken chair, and a dusty clipboard with a checklist. Hourly walkthrough, east wing, food court, lower level. Log unusual activity. Standard stuff. The office had a window that looked out over the central atrium of the mall. From here, I could see the skeletal remains of a once bustling shopping center. Empty kiosks, shuttered stores, scattered trash no one had bothered to clean. There was a faint sound too, not quite real, like wind blowing through pipes. Or breathing. I shook it off. First patrol. Let's get it over with. I started in the east wing. The flashlight beam jumped from one storefront to another. Clothing stores, a toy shop with peeling paint, a defunct electronics outlet. All dark, all silent. Except, halfway down the corridor I heard a soft clink, like glass tapping against glass. I stopped, held my breath. There it was again, clink, clink. It was coming from the toy store. My boots creaked as I approached the glass window. Inside it was darker than the rest, shadows clinging to every shelf, broken dolls scattered on the floor like discarded bones. The noise had stopped. I leaned closer. My breath fogged the glass, and that's when I saw it. One of the dolls, it was sitting upright. I'm not kidding, sitting upright. Not fallen over, not propped, just sitting there, head tilted, eyes wide, staring right at me. But when I blinked, it was gone. Back on the floor like the rest, as if it had never moved. I let out a nervous laugh, shook my head, and whispered to myself, "Too much caffeine, that's all." I kept moving, kept telling myself it was nothing. But the silence, it followed me like a shadow. I moved on from the toy store, pretending like that doll wasn't still burned into my mind. The corridor ahead grew darker, even though my flashlight was still strong. It felt like the shadows were thickening, almost watching. I kept walking, slowly, cautiously, my footsteps echoing back like someone was copying me from behind. I turned quickly. Nothing. Just empty hallways and the dying buzz of a flickering light overhead. I finally reached the food court. The metal chairs were stacked haphazardly as if someone had left in a hurry. The counters were covered in dust, and a half-open freezer door creaked slightly in the stale air. There was no smell of food left, only old grease and mold. I passed a broken ice cream machine, its cone handle dangling like a broken finger. Then I heard it. A whisper. Very faint, very clear. "Hey." I froze. It hadn't come from my head, it hadn't come from my imagination. It had come from the far corner, behind the abandoned pizza counter. I raised my flashlight, slowly stepped forward. "Is someone there?" I called out, trying to sound firm. Silence. I circled the counter, expecting, hoping to see a rat or a loose ceiling tile. But it was just empty. Completely, totally empty. I took a breath. Maybe this place had better acoustics than I thought. I marked the food court as clear on the clipboard and started walking toward the lower level escalator. The handrail was cold, sticky in a way I couldn't explain. My flashlight flickered just once as I reached the bottom step. And there it was again. That whisper, closer this time. "Don't go." Every hair on my neck stood up. I gritted my teeth and kept going, step by step, deeper into the belly of the building. The lower level was even worse. Only emergency lighting down here, red, dull, and pulsing every few seconds like a heartbeat. The hallway was lined with service doors, some open slightly, revealing only darkness beyond. I passed a maintenance closet and saw something scrawled on the inside of the door. Not graffiti, something written in pen, hundreds of times. "It's watching, it's watching, it's watching." I backed away from the door. Suddenly every corner felt too dark, every silence too deep. And then at the very end of the hallway, a door slammed shut. Loud, final. The kind of slam that says you're not alone down here. I ran. I don't even know why, but I ran. Not out of fear, not yet. But because something inside me whispered back, "You should have never come." I didn't stop running until I reached the stairwell. My breath echoed up the concrete steps like it was bouncing off something invisible. I braced myself on the railing, trying to calm the hammering in my chest. It's just an old building, I told myself. Old buildings make noises, they creak, they groan. They remember things that don't matter anymore. But something about this place did matter. Something in it was still awake. I took the stairs back up to the main floor, fast but quiet, listening for footsteps that weren't mine. Nothing. Just the hollow, sticky sound of my boots on the steps. When I reached the security office again, the door was slightly ajar. I remembered closing it before I left. I pushed it open slowly with the end of my flashlight. The monitors were still on, static fuzz on some of them, frozen images on others. But what made my skin crawl was the one in the bottom left corner, the camera feed from the hallway I had just left. There was someone standing there, not moving, not walking, just standing, facing the camera, head tilted slightly to the left, wearing what looked like a janitor's uniform but completely soaked in shadow, no visible face, like their features had been swallowed by the lens. And they were still there, even as I watched, still, unmoving, staring. I reached for the intercom mic, my fingers trembling. "Security office to basement hallway. Who are you? Do you need help?" No response. Just static. Then movement. But not on the camera. Behind me. Tap, tap, tap. 3 soft taps on the glass behind my chair. I turned in one terrifying second, heart lodged in my throat. No one there. Just the empty hallway beyond the office window. Dimly lit. Quiet. But the reflection in the glass? That showed a figure standing right behind me. I spun around again. Nothing. Gone. Not a sound, not a whisper. Only the long, unbearable silence pressing against my ears. I backed into the chair, sat down, and stared at the monitors. That figure? It was gone from the basement hallway, too. I leaned forward, rewound the footage, and there it was. But this time, when the figure turned to walk away from the camera, it didn't walk away. It walked into the wall, like it melted into it. No doorway, no exit. It just phased through the concrete. I paused the tape, stared at that one frame. It didn't feel like watching a video anymore. It felt like it was watching me. I sat frozen, eyes locked on the paused frame, where the figure was halfway through the wall, its head still slightly turned as if it was smiling. But there was no mouth, no face. Just the suggestion of something that knew it was being watched and didn't care. My body screamed to leave, to run out that exit door and never look back. But I didn't. Not because I was brave, because I felt like if I turned my back to the screens, something would follow. I tried calling mall management, no signal, landline, dead, radio, static. I was completely cut off. So I did the only thing I could think of. I went back out, with the flashlight gripped so tight in my hand it made my knuckles ache. Down the hallway, back toward that basement. I had to know, not just what I saw, but if it was still there. The basement door groaned louder this time, like it was trying to warn me, or maybe welcome me. Every step downward felt like being pulled. Not like I was walking, but like the shadows were dragging me down gently. Whispering, he came back. At the bottom, the flickering bulb had gone completely out. Everything was coated in thick, heavy darkness, and the air, it smelled different, less like dust, more like old breath. I clicked on the flashlight and immediately regretted it, because it landed on a face just inches in front of mine, but not on a head, just a face hanging, peeling from the wall like old wallpaper, its mouth open as if caught mid-scream. I stumbled back, the beam shaking as it bounced across the walls. More faces, some real, some painted, all open-mouthed, frozen, in agony, in horror, or something worse, excitement. Behind me something moved, light, no, shadow. I turned sharply and that's when I heard it again. You saw it, didn't you? A voice, but not around me. Inside me. I dropped the flashlight. Pitch black again. But the voice didn't need light to find me. It kept whispering. You came back, that makes you part of it now. I reached out blindly, searching for a wall, a doorknob, anything. But the space felt endless. The hallway had changed. No longer linear. It twisted, repeated. Like I was walking through a loop that didn't want to end. And the whispers kept getting louder. Not one voice now. Dozens. Laughing. Crying. Begging. Calling my name. They knew it. They knew my name. I pressed my hands to my ears, but the sound came from inside. We're still watching the cameras. My blood ran cold. How did they know? I had to get out now. I turned to run, but smacked into a wall that wasn't there a moment ago. And there, painted across it in red, dripping strokes, you're not watching us. We're watching you. I backed away, heart pounding. And the flashlight, it turned back on by itself, facing me. And in its dim circle of light, my shadow wasn't alone anymore. My shadow was moving. Not with me, not like me. It twitched, jerked. Its limbs bending the wrong way like broken marionette strings being yanked by invisible hands. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, but I knew if I did, whatever was mimicking me would scream too. Only louder, only deeper, only closer. I ran, back through the corridor that no longer felt familiar. The faces on the walls were moving now, slowly turning their heads as I passed. Some mouths opened wider, jaws cracking, while others began whispering in sync, forming one chilling chant. You're staying here. You're staying here. You're staying here. I burst through the basement door, but the mall above wasn't the mall anymore. The lights were gone. The glass storefronts, shattered and boarded up. It looked abandoned, like it had been for years. Dust covered everything. Ceiling tiles hung down like dead skin. The scent of rot was everywhere. I stepped back in confusion. Had I imagined it? Was this a hallucination? Then I saw the security monitor room. The screens were still on. I stumbled inside, and what I saw on those monitors, I was still inside the basement. Standing in the dark, frozen, flashlight in hand, mouth open, not moving, not breathing, but watching. I turned away, heart racing, feeling like I was about to throw up. A cold breeze passed behind me, though no doors were open. And then the voice returned. You left your body behind. I looked at the nearest monitor again. My image blinked. It smiled, and then it turned its head slowly, unnaturally toward the camera, toward me, as if I was the thing being watched now, and it whispered, I like it better in here. You can have what's left. Suddenly the screen cut to static. All of them did. But the static wasn't silent, it was whispering again. All those voices, a symphony of madness that drowned out my thoughts. And then the screens turned back on, and each one showed different places in the mall. Only this time I was in every one of them. Standing, still, watching. One in the food court, one in the toy shop, one in the clothing store, one right behind me. I turned sharply. Empty, but the air pulsed, thick, heavy. A shadow stretched out across the floor where nothing stood. Long, twitching, reaching. I backed into the hallway, eyes darting between flickering bulbs. The emergency exit sign glowed faint red at the far end. Maybe that was my way out. I didn't care if it meant smashing the door with my bare hands. I had to get out of this nightmare. But as I ran, the sign blinked, flickered, then changed. The glowing red letters now read,
"Welcome home." I stood frozen beneath the glowing red sign.
"Welcome home." The air around me had changed, no longer just cold but dense, like fog I couldn't see. Every breath felt borrowed, every heartbeat like it didn't belong to me. Then I heard them, footsteps, but they didn't echo like normal steps. They were wet, slippery, like something barefoot dragging across the tiled floor. Closer, closer, until they stopped, right behind me. I didn't turn. I couldn't. I could feel something breathing on the back of my neck. Slow, calm, knowing. Then, a finger slid along my shoulder. Cold as death. It whispered in my ear, low and grating. She opened the door. Now we all walk free. I ran. The corridor twisted longer than before. I passed mannequins, more of them now, lining the walls. Each one had a cracked porcelain face. Each one turned their head as I passed, their eyes hollow, but aware. I hit the emergency door. Locked. I turned to see the mannequins had moved. They were closer. Too close. I backed up and pounded the door, screamed, kicked. Nothing. Then the lights above me began to buzz. Flicker. Then explode. Glass rained down as the hallway dimmed into a sickly orange. And at the far end of the hall, I saw her. The little girl. The one from the security footage. She was just standing there in a white dress now stained red. Her eyes were dark pits, but they were looking right at me. She smiled slowly, unnaturally, and whispered something that I could still hear, despite the distance. "You came looking in and now you've seen too much." Behind her, shadows shifted, grew, moved. Something massive began to crawl out of the dark. Too many limbs, too many mouths. Its bones cracked with every step as it reached forward. The girl stepped aside and pointed at me. That thing. Charged. I dove to the floor and rolled toward a maintenance hatch, kicked it open and crawled in just as it crashed against the wall behind me, with a howl so loud it cracked the tile. In the crawl space, it was silent, too silent. But then, a whisper, right in front of my face. "You're inside now, the mall lives in you." I screamed. I crawled. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to keep moving. And behind me, the crawl space started filling with whispers. Hundreds of them. Thousands. All saying the same thing. "Stay. Stay. Stay with us." I reached a vent, kicked it open, and dropped down into the toy store. But it wasn't a toy store anymore. Everything was twisted. Dolls with melted faces. Music boxes playing in reverse. A carousel that spun without motion. And in the center, a table with a mirror. On it, a note in my handwriting. "You left a piece of you here." I looked in the mirror, and the reflection wasn't me. It was the thing from the screen. Smiling, waiting, the glass cracked as it leaned forward, and whispered with my voice, "You're already gone." The mirror shattered. Glass flew everywhere, slicing my face, my hands, but I didn't feel the pain. I couldn't. I was too consumed by the voice. My own voice whispering things no human should ever hear. Behind me, the carousel lit up. It started spinning slowly, though the room had no power. Music played again. A twisted lullaby, deep and echoing. One by one, the melted dolls on the shelves turned their heads toward me, grinning with cracked lips and hollow eyes. The whispers were louder now, but one voice rose above the others. It was her, the little girl. She stood on the other side of the broken mirror. "This place remembers," she said, "and now it remembers you." The mirror's shards began to float around me, spinning faster, creating a circle of jagged reflection. Inside each piece, I didn't see myself anymore. I saw every moment of fear I'd ever felt. I saw every person who had vanished in this mall over the years. Faces I'd never known, but now I could name. Their voices joined the whisper. "You're one of us. There's no way out." I screamed, louder than I ever had before, and the glass exploded into white light. Then in nothing, silence. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting in the security room. The cameras were off. The clock read 3:33 a.m. My head throbbed. My clothes were clean, no blood, no cuts. I rushed to the mirror in the restroom. It was me. Just me. I exhaled. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe the stress finally broke me. Maybe. Then I saw the CCTV screen flicker. The girl in the toy store. She waved. And I knew. I never left. Not really. Every night I clock in. Every night the whispers begin again. Every night I relive it. And when the sun rises, then I forget. But she doesn't. She waits. And the mall? The mall remembers.